Hello, 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 hello. Welcome back to what is probably my most anticipated review in this community. Why do I say that? Well, I'm reviewing Star Trek The Wrath of Khan, and if you're new here and you haven't been keeping up with what's been the back and forth banter that myself and fellow YouTuber AJ's Movie Place have been having, let me explain. So, myself and AJ are massive Star Trek fans. And when it comes to the movies, AJ says that The Wrath of Khan is the best Star Trek movie, and I say it's First Contact. And whenever they ask me to explain why I don't like this movie, or why I don't think it's the best Star Trek movie, I sidestep the question. I can't do that anymore because I'm doing this series where I'm revisiting the Star Trek movies, all 13 of them, including this one, and doing a review for them. So I can't obviously sidestep it now. It's set in stone. This review has to happen. So let's get into it. I will finally divulge why I don't think Wrath of Khan deserves the mantle of best Star Trek movie. So, for those who haven't seen Wrath of Khan, why have you been? Where have you been? Where have you been living in a rock or a cave or just been born in the last 2 minutes? The Wrath of Khan for Star Trek fans anyway. You should know what it is, but I guess I'll give you a crash course of it. So, the Wrath of Khan is essentially a revenge movie. Um, it deals with the ramifications from the original series, specifically the episode Space Seed. This movie takes place 15 years after Space Seed, where we finally catch up with Khan Noonien Singh, the one of the people from the eugenics wars back in 1996 in the Star Trek canon, and who Captain Kirk left on at what at the time was a vibrant planet with Khan's crew and one of the members of Kirk's ship, who then instantly fell in love with Khan, and they were marooned there. No air quotes. They were marooned there, and no one checked up on them in those 15 years. And what happened is SETI Alpha 6 exploded, which then caused SETI Alpha 5 to be thrown off orbit and become a desolate planet. Now, Khan finally escapes after 15 years with what's left of his crew, thanks to the help of the captain of the USS Reliant, as well as Commander Chekhov, who is on loan there, I guess, was reassigned to the Reliant after the events of the first movie, because this movie takes place, I think, a year or two after the events of the first movie. And so, yeah, he escapes. He learns about what the Reliant was doing there, and the Reliant was essentially looking for a desolate planet to use as an experiment for this thing called the Genesis device. Now, the Genesis device is essentially something that can terraform a planet from scratch, and why they needed it to be a desolate planet to turn it into an M-class planet is, well, not only can the Genesis device terraform a planet from scratch, it can do it to any existing planet that's already M-class. It can wipe out everything on that planet, including all the inhabitants, and re-terraform it so it can be used essentially as a weapon. And that's what Khan doesn't. He wants it as a weapon. He wants to use it as a weapon after he gets his revenge on Admiral Kirk. And so he takes over the Reliant. He goes to Regula 1. He tries to find the Genesis device. He can't. And so he leaves after killing some of the scientists there. Why does he leave? Well, because on its way there to them is the Enterprise with Admiral Kirk, Captain Spock, and a few other people that we know from the original series crew, followed, but the main ship is actually manned by a lot of cadets, fresh faced cadets fresh out of the academy on a training cruise, not meant for a real life battle. And so when the Enterprise and Reliant cross paths, they get into a big fight. Khan reveals himself, and after Kirk puts in the Reliant's command codes and tells the ship's computer from their side to lower the shields, they get some hits on after taking some heavy blows themselves, and they limp off to Regular One. They meet up with Kirk's former flame, Carol Marcus, as well as her and Kirk's son, David. And they wait for 2 hours. Khan thinks he has him trapped down there. Kirk says his infamous Khan line, and then they get back onto the ship now that they're 2 hours. The Spock and crew have had 2 hours to do as much repairs as they can. They get back into a fight with Khan. They win. He activates the Genesis device, and they just narrowly escape. In the process, Spock is badly injured due to radiation poisoning from trying to save the ship, and he dies. And then the movie ends with them sending Spock's body onto this new planet that formed out of the destruction of the Reliant and this nebula, and it creates what's now dubbed as the Genesis planet, and that's where they decide Spock's remains are going to be. So that is the entire plot of Wrath of Khan. So now let's get into why I don't like. No, I do like this movie. I think it's a good movie. I just don't think it deserves the mantle of the best Star Trek movie ever made. So why do I say that? Well, because when I got into Star Trek, I didn't have access to this movie right away. I had access to whatever my mother had on DVD, which wasn't a lot. I think it was just The Voyage Home, The Final Frontier, Generations, and First Contact, and I think Nemesis, and whatever was on TV, on the Sci-Fi Channel with Next Generation and Voyager, as well as on the CBS channel for the original series, which I didn't really watch much of the original series. Is predominantly Next Gen and Voyager. And so when I finally got to watch it, it had been built up so much to me. Like every Star Trek fan was saying, Wrath of Khan is the best Star Trek movie ever made. My mother was even saying Wrath of Khan is the best Star Trek movie ever made. And I was also told, skip the odd number Star Treks, only watch the even number Star Treks, because the even number Star Treks are the genuinely better ones. And because it was built up so much to me, I went in with so high expectations. And by the time I was finished watching the movie for the first time, I was underwhelmed. That's it. I was overwhelmed. I think this movie is slightly overrated. And it was good, it was good for the time. Like, it had a lot of amazing stuff in it. Like, the music. My God, I love the music. The score is so amazing in it. I love the uniforms that they introduced, that they used up until Star Trek 6. And, that we've seen crop up every now and again in Star Trek shows like The Next Generation, Voyager, and even Strange New Worlds. But there's also things that I did not like. That mainly being the space battle between the Enterprise and the Reliant. I think as good as it was for the time, using very few special effects and predominantly relying on practical effects, for the explosion parts and all that, I think there's better space battles in Star Trek that trump this battle. Like what we see from in Deep Space Nine episode The Emissary, where we finally got to see bits of the Battle of Wolf 359, as well as the Battle of Chintaka, this Battle of when they at the end of the Dominion War, when they take control of, you know, Cardassia. All of that is far better than this. There's also a massive continuity error in this movie, that being how Khan and Chekhov recognize each other when they never actually met in Space Seed. You know, Walter, the actor who plays Chekhov, wasn't a part of that episode. The same with George Takei, who plays Sulu. He wasn't a part of this. They weren't a part of the Space Seed episode. Now, I know in the novelization of The Wrath of Khan, it is mentioned that at that point, you know, Chekhov was working as an ensign in the engineering department, which, you know, we do know that Chekhov does have some engineering prowess, but uh, it's a quote unquote fix in a non-canon book. You know, as well. You know, as not only that, you know, some of the original series cast had nothing to do in this movie, like Sulu, for example. Sulu has very few lines in this entire movie. That's it. And the same, you know, with Nichelle Nichols. You know, she has some, you know, a decent amount of speaking lines, but that's all she's really there for. And like, I get, you know, with this big ensemble cast, it's hard to have focuses on these characters, but you know, what's the point of having them in this movie if they're just going to do nothing, you know? Um, but yeah, like I said, to me, Wrath of Khan is just really, really overrated. Um, but that's not saying it's not a great Star Trek movie. It is. It just does not deserve the mantle of the best. And maybe when I'm done rewatching all 13 Star Trek movies, I might rank them and actually say where I think Wrath of Khan should go. Now, I will of course be doing a proper video for the first Star Trek First Contact. You'll have to wait until next month for that, I think. I haven't actually planned out June's videos yet, but we will see. But that's gonna wrap it up. This, like I said, this is my fourth attempt, and this is one that I'm actually more happier with. So I'm going to use this one. So, thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know what you thought of the Wrath of Khan in the comments below. Oh, excuse me, a bit of a hiccup there. Yeah, so let me know what you thought of the Wrath of Khan in the comments section below, and I will catch you all for the next video, which I think is the Doctor Who specials review. I think. I could be wrong. You'll obviously know if you follow me on Instagram, which is a cheeky plug to go follow me on Instagram and Letterboxd.